Comptroller and Auditor General of India controls the entire financial system of the country at the union as well as at the state levels. So, the foundation of a parliamentary system of government is the responsibility of the executive to the legislature, and the essence of such control lies in the system of financial control by the legislature. So, in order to enable the legislature to discharge the function properly, it is essential that this legislature should be aided by an agency that is fully independent of the executive and who would scrutinize the financial transactions of the government and bring the results of such scrutiny before the legislature. Moreover, there was an Auditor General of India even under the Government of India Act 1935, and that act secured the independence of the Auditor General by making him irremovable, except in like manner and on the like grounds as a judge of the federal court. So the office of the Comptroller and Auditor General in the Constitution is substantially modelled upon that of Auditor General under the Government of India Act 1935. Comptroller and Auditor General of India is the head of the Indian Audit and Accounts Department. See, public audit is a powerful instrument of good governance, and it also ensures parliamentary control over expenditures voted by the legislatures and renders public authorities accountable for the public money raised and spent by them to implement policies and programs that are approved by the legislature. So, accountability and transparency, which are the two cardinal principles of good governance in a democratic setup, depend for their observance to a large extent on how well the public audit function is discharged. So it is for this reason that CAG has been given special status by the Constitution in Article 148 to 152. Therefore, it is his responsibility to ensure that money is spent and revenue raised not only in accordance with the law but also with due regard to economy, efficiency and effectiveness. So, he is the constitutional authority entrusted with the high responsibility of maintaining the use of public funds. And currently, Rajiv Mehrishi is the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. The Comptroller and Auditor General is appointed by the President of India by warrant under his hand and seal. And he, before taking over his office, makes and subscribes before the President an oath or affirmation. The term of office of the Comptroller and Auditor General shall be 6 years from the date on which he assumes office, but he shall vacate office on attaining the age of 65 years if earlier than the expiry of the 6-year term tenure. He may at any time resign his office by writing under his hand address to the President of India. And he can also be removed by the President on same grounds and in the same manner as a judge of the Supreme Court. So in other words, he can be removed by the President on the basis of a resolution passed to that effect by both the houses of the Parliament with special majority, either on the grounds of proved misbehavior or incapacity. The Constitution has made the following provisions to safeguard and ensure the independence of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So firstly, he is provided with the security of tenure, as he can be removed by the President only in accordance with the procedure that are mentioned in the Constitution. Thus, he does not hold his office till the pleasure of the President, though he is appointed by the President. Secondly, he is not eligible for further office, either under the Government of India or of any state, after he ceases to hold his office. Thirdly, his salary and other service conditions are determined by the Parliament, and his salary is equal to that of a judge of the Supreme Court. Neither his salary nor his rights in respect of leave of absence, pension or age of retirement can be altered to his disadvantage after his appointment. And further, the administrative expenses of the office of the Comptroller and Auditor General, including all salaries, allowances and pensions of persons serving in that office, are charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India, thus they are not subject to the vote of Parliament. And further, no minister can represent the CAG in Parliament in both the houses, and no minister can be called upon to take any responsibility for any actions done by him. The Constitution in Article 149 authorizes the Parliament to prescribe the duties and powers of the Comptroller and Auditor General in relation to the accounts of the Union and of the state government or of any other authority or body. And accordingly, the Parliament enacted the CAG's Duties, Powers and Conditions of Service Act 1971. See, this act was amended in 1976 to separate accounts from audit in the central government, right? So the duties and functions of the CAG as laid down by the Parliament and the Constitution are as follows. So firstly, he audits the accounts related to all expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India. It includes Consolidated Fund of each state and Consolidated Fund of each union territory that is having a legislative assembly. He audits all expenditure from the Contingency Fund of India and the Public Account of India, as well as the Contingency Fund of each state and the Public Account of each state. He audits all trading, manufacturing, profit and loss accounts, balance sheet, and other subsidiary accounts kept by any department of the central government or of the state government. He audits the receipts and expenditure of the center and each state to satisfy himself that the rules and procedures in that behalf are designed to secure an effective check on the assessment, collection and proper allocation of revenue. So basically he audits the receipts and expenditures of all bodies and authorities that are financed from the central or the state revenues, government companies and other corporations and bodies when so required by related laws. He audits all transactions of the central and the state governments related to debt, sinking funds, deposit, advances, suspense accounts and remittance business. So he also audits receipts and stock accounts and others with approval of the president or when required by the president. He audits the accounts of any other authority when requested by the president or governor. Further, he submits his audit reports relating to the accounts of the center to the president, who shall in turn place them before the House of the Parliament, and he submits his audit reports relating to the accounts of a state to a governor of that state, who will in turn place them before the state legislature. So basically he acts as a guide, friend, philosopher of the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament, and he compiles and maintains the accounts of state governments. See, because in 1976, as we have discussed earlier, he was Comptroller and Auditor General, was relieved of his responsibilities with regard to the compilation and the maintenance of accounts of the central government due to the separation of accounts from audit, that is the departmentalization of the accounts. So therefore, the CAG submits 3 audit reports to the President: the audit report on appropriation accounts, the audit report on finance accounts, and the audit report on public undertakings. And the President in turn lays these reports before both the houses of the Parliament, and after this, Public Accounts Committee examines them and reports its finding to the Parliament. The role of Comptroller and Auditor General in the auditing of public corporation is limited. See, broadly speaking, his relationship with the public corporations falls into the following 3 categories. Firstly, that some corporations are audited totally and directly by the CAG, for example, the Damodar Valley Corporation, Oil and Natural Gas Commission, Indian Airlines Corporation and others. And second category is that some of other corporations are audited by the private professional auditors who are appointed by the central government in consultation with the CAG. So if necessary, the CAG can conduct supplementary audit. For example, Central Warehousing Corporations, Industrial Finance Corporation and others. And third category is of those corporations that are totally subjected to private audit. So in other words, their audit is done exclusively by private professional auditors and the CAG does not come into the picture at all. So they submit their annual reports and accounts directly to the Parliament. An example of such corporations are Life Insurance Corporation of India, Reserve Bank of India, State Bank of India, Food Corporation of India and others. So the role of CAG in the auditing of government companies is also limited. See, they are audited by private auditors who are appointed by the government on the advice of the CAGs. So the CAG can also undertake supplementary audit or test audit of such companies. And in 1968, there was an audit board that was established as a part of the Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General to associate outside specialists and experts to handle the technical aspects of the audit of specialized enterprises like engineering, iron and steel, chemicals, and so on. So this board was established on the recommendation of Administrative Reforms Commission of India, and it consists of a chairman and 2 members that were appointed by the CAG. So basically the role of Comptroller and Auditor General is to uphold the Constitution of India and the laws of Parliament in the field of financial administration. So the accountability of the executive, that is Council of Ministers, to the Parliament in the sphere of financial administration is secured through audit reports of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So basically he acts as an agent of the Parliament and conduct audits of the expenditure on behalf of the Parliament. Therefore he is responsible only to the Parliament. See, the Constitution of India visualizes the Comptroller and Auditor General, the CAG, to be a Comptroller as well as the Auditor General. But however, in practice, the CAG is fulfilling the role of Auditor General only and not of the Comptroller, and not of that of a Comptroller, because he has no control over the issue of money from the consolidated fund, and there are many departments that are authorized to draw money by issuing checks without specific authority from the Comptroller and Auditor General, and who is concerned only at the audit stage when the expenditure has already taken place. See, in this respect, the CAG of India differs totally from the CAG of Britain, who has the power of both Comptroller as well as Auditor General. As in Britain, the executive can draw money only with the approval of Comptroller and the Auditor General.